Hello everyone, my name is Matthias, and tonight I would like to talk about a lovely thing called kanji. I'm sure that every single Japanese learner out there is aware of those lovely Chinese characters which are known as kanji. I feel that kanji is one of several areas in Japanese which, well, according to my own experiences and from what I've heard from others, is not taught properly and is not given enough focus by the students themselves. So I would like to mention about 4 things regarding kanji, my way of, what I think are effective study methods and such. I'll try not to ramble, but I tend to ramble, so please bear with me. Okay, so why is the study of kanji important? Well, basically, kanji is everywhere in Japan, everywhere, and you should be able to, you don't have to necessarily write them, but you should be able to read at least 2,000 characters to survive here. Idealistically, you should be able to read about, this including name kanji, regional name kanji, 2,500, 2,800 roughly, if you want to be considered, someone who's truly a semi-master, you could say, of Japanese. But most people barely get up to the 1,500 mark, assuming they're not Chinese. Chinese people have a big advantage when it comes to kanji. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. I'm sure a lot of Chinese people will say, no, you're wrong, but yeah, anyway. Another video, another time. Yes, so I believe that, yes, kanji is a very foreign concept to Caucasians like myself, but if you put in the time early on in your studies, you'll be grateful, because the more time you put into it when you're at an elementary and intermediate level, the easier it will become to, well, pick up new kanji later on which look similar to the kanji learned earlier on, and it just becomes easier, because if you're trying to read a newspaper and you can only read 1,000 kanji, you're gonna have a lot of trouble, because especially newspapers, because they use quite often kanji which only appear in newspapers. Kanji appear here and there. So, but with that said, kanji is difficult to study, especially for Caucasians, because kanji isn't in English or French or German, for example. Whereas, for example, in Chinese is just kanji, so Chinese people know very well how to study kanji. But anyway, I would like to go through what works for me. So, first off, differentiating between onyomi, Chinese, the original Chinese reading of a kanji, and kunyomi, the Japanese reading of a character. So basically, instead of trying to cram into your head, oh, this character, it has these sounds, dun 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 dun, say, okay, this character's onyomi is this, and this character's kunyomi is this and this and this. If you do that, then it will be much easier for you to remember or even guess, when you see 2 kanji together and you're not quite sure of one of the readings, because most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, you will either have, if you have 2 kanji, you will have kunyomi, kunyomi, or onyomi, onyomi. So there are cases where you have kunyomi, onyomi, and kunyomi, but that doesn't happen very often, and they are called jubakuyomi. So basically, just remember, if you see, for example, kazoku, family, ka is onyomi for that character, and zoku is the onyomi for that character. Just remember, if you know that this character is read this way, then it's normally has the equivalent onyomi for that character as well. That's just my number 1 tip. Not necessarily best tip, but yeah, differentiate between onyomi and kunyomi. Second tip is learn radicals. What are radicals? Radicals are not always, they're the part of the character which contains, I guess, which expresses the meaning of that character. So, for example, if you look at, what is a good example? If you look at time, toki, the radical is the left part, the hi. That character means the sun, or sun, and, toki means time, has to do with the sun, right? Or you can think of, what's another example? A good example is, for example, motsu, like to hold something. That has the same right part, or onpu as it's called, as toki, but it's got a different bushu, so radical. Bushu is radical in Japanese. It has what's called tehen. Hen is a name assigned for radicals on the left side. My left side, sorry, my left side. So basically, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because motsu means to hold something, right? And if it's tehen, that normally means to hold something. But the reason why the Chinese came up with this notion of radicals is basically to make a dictionary, because there are 214 radicals. I'm not asking you to learn 214 radicals. You should know at least 40 or so. 40-50 should be enough to get you by if you want to become very good at kanji. But yeah, that was the best way back, when in 6th century China, for example, to look up kanji, since there was thousands and thousands and thousands of them. How do you sort them? You sort them by radicals. So yes, I'm rambling, so let's move on. So you have radicals, yes, and then, as I mentioned, you have onpu as well. Onpu is, for example, you have toki and motsu. They have the same onyomi. It's ji. That ji comes from the right part. And if you look at it, it's actually the kanji for temple, tera. So, and tera is also read as ji, like ji-in, for example. So, if you have to, if I were to suggest, which one should you learn first, obviously onpu, because you should be reading kanji, for the sake of Japanese studies. Being able to read the kanji is more important than being able to write the kanji, because if you don't know how to read the kanji, you can't write the kanji. So focus on onpu, yes, but if you have time / if you're really passionate, please study bushu as well, because it will make your life 10 times easier when you get into the really hard stuff. When you get into, as they say, Joyogai kanji, as in kanji which aren't in the designated, I think it's 2,145 characters now, list by the Japanese government for kanji, which you should know, because each bushu, each radical has a meaning. So if you see a character which you can't read what it says, but if you see, for example, on the left side it has rishinben, which means kokoro or heart, you'll know that has to do with emotion, for example. It's very useful. Takes time, but very useful. Anyway, next is, I believe, if you actually write out the kanji with proper stroke order, I can't stress that enough, with proper stroke order, there are many reasons for that, but if you actually write out a kanji, then you will remember it. I'm not a fan of flashcards, to be honest. I don't like flashcards because they take a long time to make, and it's passive learning, because say you have 100 flashcards, you go flip, 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 you're just scanning over them and you zone out after a while. But if you stress to yourself, I have to write this kanji with correct stroke order, you will, for example, start with the radical and then you think, oh, how does it go? Oh, something like this. Yes, I just drew monkey in the air. I'm sure you can see that, but anyway, I think if you write a kanji, yes, it takes it a bit longer, but it makes it a lot easier to remember, and it puts you ahead of other foreigners, because, as I said, most foreigners don't bother to learn how to write kanji or to write kanji properly. So it has two benefits. It gives you an ego boost, in the sense that you can do something which other foreigners can't, and it helps you to remember kanji a lot easier, because you have to actively think, oh, what was the stroke order for this kanji again, but yes, anyway, I will come back to that in a second. But last point, if you do come to Japan, I'm currently in Japan, but if you do come here, make an effort. For example, if you're walking around the city and such, make an effort to read signs and such. Even though you can read those characters already, just if you see something, if you're in Sapporo where I am, for example, if you see an address written on a board like Sapporo-shi Soen Nishiichi, something like that, yeah, but whatever. Just make an effort to read the kanji, because it's different to flashcards, because you're actively forcing yourself to read those characters, and it's just being active in your learning, taking responsibility for your learning. I should have said this at the start of the video, but it depends on what you want to get from your experience. If you want to come to Japan for a year, if you're going to come to Sapporo, if you want to hang out at Susukino, that's the drinking place here in Sapporo, and pick up Japanese girls and study Japanese that way, fine. My videos will not appeal to you, but it really depends on what you want to get out of your Japanese experience. If you want to become an academic like myself, or if you want to be regarded by the Japanese as something different to an unwelcome guest, then having a knowledge of kanji, which is having a knowledge of kanji which is greater than that of a typical Japanese person, will surely be impressive. So yes, be active in your learning if you do come here. Being active in communicating with people is good, because contacts are invaluable. But I'm focusing on kanji in this lesson, and yeah, just be active, read signs, and it gets you going, it gets your brain going in the whole kanji mode. But in the end, when you think about it, in conclusion slash last point, what's the point of studying kanji if you don't have a goal? If you come here for a year or so, I highly recommend that you study. I assume that you come here to study, not just to drink and pick up chicks, but anyway, if you are going to come here, please come here with the intention to study hard. And with that said, you should take a kanji exam aimed at Japanese people. It's called the Kanji Kente. I took it in June. I passed Jun Nikyu. I'm going to take it again in so I took it in February. I passed Jun Nikyu. I am going to take it in June, and I hope to pass level 2, if I pass level 2, that means that I'll be able to read and write kanji as well as a typical senior high school graduate. So, but anyway, having a test like that has helped me to be able to read and write. Well, read more than 2,000 kanji, write about 2,000 kanji. Having that sort of goal, because if you don't have a goal like a test, you won't push yourself. Humans, humans want to feel comfortable, and that's why I think if you do come here, please take the Kanji Kente. There are 12 levels. Even if you can only read 80 kanji, there's a test for you. Well, the test is in Japanese, so it's pretty hard. But anyway, it's a great goal, and it's held 3 times a year. And it will help those of you who want to pass the JLPT, the Japanese Language Proficiency Test level 2 or level 1. Anyway, so I am done rambling. I might make another video later on about the importance of keigo. If anyone has any suggestions, any questions, I'm a bit lost as to what you, the viewers, want me to talk about. So I'm basically talking about what I find interesting and what I think is very important in regards to learning Japanese. So thank you very much for your time, and sorry for rambling a lot.